Welcome, everyone, to the Lifting Ugly podcast. I am your host, Craig, and to my right is my co-host,
Julia.
Thank you for joining us today. Like I said, we do have a guest. We'll bring her on here shortly. We're excited to have her aboard. But first, let's get through some the logistics of it all.
The
business of it. All right. So, biggest one that we have, make sure you go visit our friends over at generalleathercraft.com, where you can get all the finest in lifting gear. Well, mostly all lifting gear. The best custom-made belts. What else they got?
They've got knee wraps.
Mm-hmm.
They've got, I'm blinking right now. I always want to say dog collars. I love the dog collars. I know it's not lifting gear.
They do have dog collars, and you can customize those as well.
You can. They have wallets. I'm forgetting every lifting thing in existence right now.
All right. So they've got their knee sleeves that have been out for about 6 months that are great. They've got wrist wraps, various stiffnesses and lengths, which are also I'm a big fan of as well. Let's see. And then just kind of go to generalleathercraft.com, peruse their belts, as they have many styles and customization stocks and everything that you can get your hands on. So make sure you visit them. I'm using the wrong mouse for the wrong computer. All right. You can follow my co-host Julia here at Julia R. Bird on Instagram. The show. Wait, what happened with the music? Do you hear that?
I do hear that. I don't like it.
That sounds way too seductive.
That's a different show.
All right, let's go back here. All right, so you can follow the show at lifting_ugly, search lift or lifting ugly, any social medias, YouTube, any of those. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, comment, all those fun things that help kind of boost us in the algorithm. You can get all Lifting Ugly gear, shirts, hats, shorts at liftingugly.com. So head over there, or you can contact me and I can get those to you as well.
Or contact me and then I'll contact him and I will get it for you.
Right. You want to go the long way around? You go right ahead and do it that way. You can contact Julia and then eventually it'll make its way to me and then back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sound about right?
Yeah. Just if they would rather talk to me.
Oh, I mean, that's a very real possibility. Oh, and then I should mention before we get officially started, generalleathercraft.com, Pioneer Powerlifting, is the title sponsor of Bar Wars, which will be presented by us here at Lifting Ugly, as well as Industry Strength. Also, Skull Smash will be involved with some prizes. Insane Labs will have some prizes available. So USPF Bar Wars, May the 4th in Grand Junction, brought to you by Pioneer Power Lifting. All right. So now let's see if I can get this intro right this week. Let's get this started. All right. Thank you for continuing the intro.
Of course, anytime.
I was going to cut that a little bit short so we'll get right to our guest. As advertised for anyone that paid attention, we have our guest today is Lindsay. I just want to call you Lindsay Loves to Lift.
I know that sometimes I get packages addressed to me and they don't ask my last name, so it just says Lindsay Loves to Lift on the thing.
Well, I should change mine to Craig Hates to Cardio. And then it would go along the same lines. So the first question we have to ask is, do you really love to lift?
It's true. I know it comes to a shock to as a shock to everyone. I do love to lift. Always.
Well, that. So let's not start from the beginning, but where did your journey into where you are start?
So into powerlifting, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that powerlifting was a thing, and I somehow kind of stumbled upon it because I had been training like a bodybuilder for years, like a decade, and I felt like I want to compete in something, but I guess I just didn't know that powerlifting existed. I just knew like there's CrossFit and bodybuilding, and I knew that I didn't like I had prepped a little bit for a bodybuilding show. I think I did it for like 4 weeks in an actual prep, and I couldn't do. I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like posing. I don't want to wear high heels. I don't like any of this. I don't want to starve anymore. I'm hungry. I want a Pop-Tart. This is awful. So a friend of mine sent over, and I had seen things here or there and like a little bit of buzz about powerlifting, and I don't even remember exactly how I stumbled on it, but my friend sent me a program. It was like a totally hand-me-down program, and I just signed up for a meet, and I was like, well, I'm doing this now. So it's just, and I didn't have any idea what I was doing. Like, I didn't have a coach. I had a program I followed half the time because there's so little compared to what I was doing that I was like, this can't be right. Like 5x5 and then I go home. I'm used to doing like 10 different things. It just wasn't, I was like, there's no way this is right. So I followed that like haphazardly, and I went to the meet and I had no idea what was going on, but I had so much fun and everyone was so helpful and so nice. So I was like, I love this.
That's been a big thing in the different versions of this podcast that we've done. Kind of a big thing that we always come back around to is that the reason we all kind of got drawn to powerlifting is the community.
Yeah.
I started out in bodybuilding. I did that, competed for 6 years or so, and then kind of floundered around on whether or not I was going to do it or not. Still, I didn't like it, but again, like I knew powerlifting was a thing, but I just didn't think it was necessarily something that I would do. And then we had some guys that joined the gym. Was that like 4 years ago?
5 years ago.
About 5 years ago, yeah. And so they were all prepping for meets, and so I kind of got on board with that as well, and have been doing it. So how long have you been into the powerlifting itself?
So that was 2016, and then I competed in 2017 to the very end of 2016, and then I competed for the first time in 2017. So I don't know how many years that is. 7 or 8? What year is it?
So it'd be
Six.
Seventh year is what you're
Yeah.
on.
So, and an absolute blast. And I don't know. I'm just glad it went that way. I'm glad I found it, and I'm glad I didn't try because I don't have the passion for bodybuilding. I appreciate it as a sport. Like I understand that it's totally. I mean, I'm amazed by those people. I just don't like enjoy it. Like there's no passion there for me. So this was definitely the right route.
And then, what other ways are you involved in it besides you still compete? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm coaching. I'm competing and coaching. I for the last like 2 years, I'm like, I wanted to ref, like, but I'm like, I'm such a fed hopper that I don't, like, I just compete at whatever federation, like whatever meet I pick out that works. Like the last one I did was APF. Before that, I think I did a couple WRPF. I've done USPA. I've done USAPL a long time ago. Obviously not that anymore, but I don't have a specific federation that I'm in. Like, okay, I think this year I will likely do a WRPF to ref. But I've loaded and spotted, and usually if I'm at a meet though, I'm coaching. So
how long have you been doing the coaching?
I think it's been 2 years now, but I've always been in the fitness industry. Since I was 16, I've worked in the fitness industry. But I took a little bit longer to be strength specific just because I felt like there were so many more people that knew so much more than I did. So then I took a little time to learn more. I was coached by Lonis, calloused hands power for a long time. And then I asked Ryan Silva, who coached me after that, to mentor me a little bit. And then I also have weekly mentor calls from my coach, Mike, Michael De La Pava. So just trying to constantly learn. But it's been 2 years that I've been coaching, and I have most of my clients, or a lot of my clients, have been with me for 2 entire years.
And do you just coach powerlifting, or do you have just general fitness clients as well?
I have a couple that are just like, I just want to be strong and I don't want to compete, or I just want to increase these lifts. They don't really have the desire to step on the platform. But I think once you like hone in on that, it's just more fun. Like, I think it's kind of fun to have that like niche. But I also work here in person. I manage a studio locally that is like all HIIT training. It's all women. So there are like 300 plus women there. And so I get a lot of like general fitness.
Okay.
But that's more like in person.
Gotcha. I always ask all the questions, and then I ask my daughter if she has any questions, and I leave her with none. So I'm going to turn it over to her. So if she has any questions before I get too carried away and cover everything, what she has for you.
I appreciate that, as you've already asked most of my questions. I guess my question is, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone who's just getting into the powerlifting world?
I think my go-to for that is always not compare, which sounds super cliche, but I really do think that helped me tremendously, because I was just so focused on like how I could get to the next like level or next weight, that I didn't really care what other people were doing. And I think that only ended up helping me, because it only hurts you. Like, so what someone else is doing isn't going to make you better. It's not going to take anything away from you either. So why are you worried about it? Like, keep your eyes on your own paper. I've said that for years. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Stop worrying about what this person's doing, how fast they're progressing. Just focus on your lift, focus on yourself, and lift to a freaking competition standard.
Yes.
Like, stop calling PRs that are not PRs. Like,
yes.
Oh, I got a squat PR, a little high, but no, then it's not a squat PR. You just squatted almost, but that's not a PR. You didn't hit depth. It doesn't get So just like focus on lifting to a comp standard and keep your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of powerlifting, especially for me, like as a female, like not comparing myself to what the guys are lifting has been like the most difficult part getting into powerlifting. So that's great advice.
Yeah, it's tough, or even other girls, like it's sometimes you're like, wow, she's really strong. I want to be that strong.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you don't know her training history or her training age or her injury history. You don't know any of that. So it's like, you're just apples to oranges, just really. Everyone's different.
Well, I think the worst part when it comes to that is the guys that inject themselves or interject themselves and are like, oh yeah, but that's whatever, you did that, but I can do this. And it's like, okay, you're comparing yourself to someone who's biologically different than you and saying I'm stronger than you. Well, good for you. Like,
I always say, yeah, I'm always confused by that too, because I'm like, if we were in person, you would either say nothing,
right,
or congratulate me.
Yep.
So why are you being weird? Like, why are you being different right now? But it's also like, I've said this before, like, strength is not pie. Like, more for me isn't less for you. Like, if I'm inching up closer to your numbers, you have every opportunity to just get stronger, just like I am. What is your problem? I just don't get it.
No, it's.
Do you have anything else?
Well, what inspired you to open a women's only studio?
So no, it's not mine personally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but the women's only, working for them has been a blast, because I was just getting back to, after I had been a stay-at-home mom for like 5 or 6 years, I think. So I was getting back into just going back to work. I was teaching classes and like coaching. I think I was doing, I was coaching aerobic boxing at the time, but that was like 4 times a week. So it wasn't really like working. This was like a little bit more serious because I'm like managing a studio with a lot of people. So it was appealing to me that it was all women, because I've always felt like women tend to like shy away from the gym a lot. And there's just always been so much misinformation directed specifically to women, like, oh, you just need to do low weights and high reps. And that message to it, maybe not to our generation where like we have access to information that isn't trash, but like the generation above, like Gen X and like the older than above that, they still believe those things because they don't like dive into information. So it's,
let's be fair. I'm a Gen X.
Okay.
I am of that age. I'm all
right, but you're also not a woman, and you probably haven't been fed as much fitness nonsense as women have, like forever. Everyone's I remember catching on really quickly because there were big like meatball heads in the gym that I worked in high school, and they would like give me advice that was probably terrible advice, to be honest with you, but it was then that I kind of noticed, like, I don't really have to train that much differently than them, like I could do that. So there was always just this bubble where women are told like you have to train this way, and that's exercise, that's for men to do. So like explaining that to an older generation that still holds on to those ideologies, they don't want to let them go, and they also don't want to eat any carbs a lot of the time. So it's just like debunking things over and over again, where we think now, because we all have access to much better information, we know that's not true, like within the industry, but there's still a lot of people that believe those things. So when I went to the all women's studio, I was like, it's amazing that there's still this many people that actually believe this stuff. And and everybody's different, obviously. There's never an absolute, speaking in absolutes in terms of fitness is always a bad thing, or usually a bad thing. But I was just really amazed at the amount of people that still believe those things. So pushing them to get stronger, or pushing them towards strength, it was like lit a fire.
That is amazing.
The majority of the clients I have, are women. And the only time I ever train them any different than anyone else is if their goals are different. Because I found personally as well, same thing. The weight might be a little bit different. It might not be different, but the training can be exactly the same. The women can do the same 5x5s. They can do, heavy singles. They can do those things to help build their strength. There's nothing wrong with a woman who is strong, who has muscle, and anyone who, and the societal, like you said, there's a little bit of a change, but I think it's still really strong, is that women need to be, or that muscle's not feminine, that strength is not feminine, and that's complete BS. And I'm glad that even being in a women's only studio gives you that chance to really express, look, get strong, be strong. It's good for you. It's good for your mental. It's good for you physically. Then there's nothing wrong with it. Anyone who thinks that that's not a feminine quality, you don't need to be around those type of people.
Yeah, and it grows a lot confidence-wise too, because it turns into this like, look what I'm capable of, and then it like deepens those the roots of like the passion for just being more active and being more physical. So like that part of it is so important, because there's something different about like grabbing that 50-pound dumbbell versus grabbing that 10 that you've always been told that you should gear yourself towards. So that kind of makes a big difference. Like when you realize how capable you are, it makes a really big difference in terms of your confidence, and it spills over into like other parts of your life.
Well, Julia can attest to that as well, from where she was a year ago to where she is now. Not, like you said, not just physically strong. I mean, that's obviously increased quite a bit, but just the other aspects as well.
I
And
mean,
you can touch on that however you want.
well, I mean, getting into powerlifting, getting into the gym mentally, not even looking at the physical aspect, helped me so much. Like, it got me, you know, I met a ton of great people that, are absolutely some of my closest friends. But then just knowing that I am capable of something, that I can, do something where I'm not relying on anybody, it's all me. It's helped so much. And knowing that I can, like, oh, maybe I can't do this, but, I might be able to outlift them, as bad as that sounds. Like, sometimes that's what, like, gets me through my day. Like, oh, I may not be good at this, but I'll go to the gym for an hour and feel a lot better about myself.
And so, are most of your clients women that you coach, or are they all women?
I coach mostly women. I have a couple male. I have a couple male lifters. One that's like actually local here, and I find what I find, men just don't listen very as well as women do, and which is interesting. They just tend to, because I'm like, specifically, I'll do, and they'll do it, and I'm like, why'd you do that? What I specifically said, and I'm like, this is karma because I do this to my coach a lot. I'm like, well, you didn't say not to do this. You just do this instead. Like, that's a loophole if you ask me. But I do have a couple males, but it's mostly women. We have a really great team. I actually just made finally like a team chat in WhatsApp, because that's kind of how I get all my videos. And I was just like shocked at how well everybody just meshed. It was so cool. It was like it literally made like my whole week. I was just sitting there reading them, just kind of bantering back and forth. It was so awesome. Women are so supportive of one another, especially when it comes to fitness, and I just love that part. Especially the powerlifting community. But like, I know that there are spats here and there, but man, it's kind of incredible.
I found the same thing. I think that's why the majority, I prefer to train women, mainly because if I give them a program, they follow the program. If I am training in person and I say, okay, we're doing this, I may get a little bit, I hate that, but then they go do it.
But they're going to do it.
Right. The guys just, and I'm probably the same way. You're just like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to do this instead. That's close enough. Or, just, it's not, I don't know. We just don't follow directions, I guess. So I find that it's much easier to coach women, and I have a couple that will do bodybuilding, and a handful that do powerlifting, and across the board they are so much easier to manage than guys.
Well, I don't know if I would say manage. I know, like I said, Ryan. And it's so funny because the things that I have thrown, like I think back and like the things that I've thrown at my own coaches, like Ryan, I think we were prepping for the hybrid maybe. And I was like, by the way, I'm going to do this in wraps. We were 4 weeks out. He's like, what? You're what? I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this in wraps. I decided. He's like, when did you decide that? So like, and I do this with like weight cuts too. I'm like, hey, by the way, about 9 pounds over, we have 4 days, and he's like, can you just have one normal prep, please? Just one where I don't get thrown a curveball. It's like Ryan will sit and wait for like the 4 week out mark, and he's like, any day now, any day I'm getting coming. But so I don't know about managing, because I feel like I've heard him, when we've talked on like coaching calls and stuff, that it's a lot of controlling chaos sort of with women, because we tend to panic first. Like, we're gonna figure it out, but like we're gonna panic first, so we just need somebody to be like, hey, this is figure outable, everything's fine. But and I have that with my lifters too. Like a couple specifically, they'll be like, they're going to be fine, and I know they're going to be fine, and I'm like, it's like, we have to make a quick decision here, and that's okay. You can panic, get that out of your system, and then we'll move forward. But I think that's a lot of coaching women specifically, is like, let them freak out, and then make the decision and rein it in, let them calm down.
The problem, I think, is with guys, they just don't say anything. Like, women will panic and tell you, oh my gosh, what about this? I don't think I can do this. The guys will just be like, and they won't say anything to their coach.
And then they'll be like, I did this.
Yeah, and then they weigh in and they're like over, and you're like, what the hell happened? I don't know. Yeah. Fucking...
All right.
But yeah, I find I don't know. I've gotten a lot more reward, I think, from my female clients as far as watching their progression and what it does, like you've talked about, what it does mentally, what just all the progress, and watching when they hit those lifts and they get the numbers, and it's so exciting. It's exciting to watch, to be a part of, and just to kind of see their development. I have a client who broke her back, 6 or 7 years ago, and competed in her, I guess it was about 7 years ago, competed in her first powerlifting meet 4 years ago, where she didn't think she would ever be able to squat, do a regular squat or deadlift. But her back feels better after learning how to do these things correctly. And now her next goal is, I know she wants to get to 500, but she was out of the gym for about a year. So we're gonna try and get her back up into that mid 400 for her next meet. But I mean, this is somebody who was very stagnant and didn't do any sort of weight training, and had a broken back and work your way to it. And just to when she pulled low to mid 400s at her last meet, and just to see how exciting that was for her, and that carries through. Like, that was a year and a half ago, and it still brings her to when she thinks about it, it elevates where she's at. So if she's feeling down, she thinks about that, and then she's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you gotta revisit for a second, especially when you leave the gym after a trash session. You're like, God, I'm garbage.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh wait, maybe I'm not garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage today specifically. There's nothing worse than having a bad deadlift session, but or a rough deadlift session.
I think having a bad deadlift session is probably worse than having a bad any other one. I can deal with bad squats. I can deal with a rough bench day, but I just get super pissed if my deadlift is not working.
I think it's physical, like you don't get it off the floor, so then you're just like with a squat, when you step out, like whether or not this is going to go well, or at least I've always looked at it like I know how this is going to go. But with deadlift, you're just fully ready, and then it just doesn't come off the floor.
Right.
For me, and I'm like, I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force jump. I think I'll go home now.
Yeah, it's either I usually when that happens, I find a different way to punish myself the rest of my workout. I'm like, okay, because what was it yesterday? Not that it was bad, it just wasn't great, and so I switched it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do banded, and then I did a deficit stiff leg deadlift just to test it and to see how much. Yeah, right. I want to feel how bad this is going to be on my hamstrings. And it was, and it sucked, but I'll probably do it again because it was a fun one to figure out.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes I will just move on, or let's do something like snatch grip RDLs. There's just something awful,
Yeah.
That's usually what's next anyway. I'm like my secondary movement is also is actually probably more difficult because it's working on a weakness specifically. So this isn't gonna get better.
Yeah, like the heavy set didn't move. From here on out, it doesn't get easier from here.
We're just gonna settle on although I do try to pull it back and just maintain the rate mindset, but a lot of if it's a really bad session, I'm like, I gotta go home. Goodbye. Yeah. That's why I love an all accessory day so much. I'm like, there's no pressure.
Right.
It's we just get to do the easy, or well, I shouldn't say easy because it's never easy. I always do my accessory work with a high level of intensity, but it's just there's no pressure attached to it.
Well, you don't have that number that you're looking at the same as that you have the other ones. You're like, I should be able to do this number this many times. And then if it doesn't happen,
It's mad.
feels like the worst thing in the world. But yeah, the accessory day, it's like, okay, I'm feeling this weight today. And then you go through your accessories and you're done. And okay, if it's a gym session, I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's just so much.
So what do you have? What is next? Like what meets do you have coming up for yourself? What's next for you?
So I'm pretty excited. I am signed up for the women's pro-am. I have to make sure, I kind of have to make a decision like now, because I have a lot of lifters competing in goddesses, which just happens to be the next weekend. And then I am in that same weekend, I have to go from South Carolina to Orlando. So it's like Saturday goddesses, Sunday. I have someone competing in wraps in Orlando. So I need to turn around and get right back here to wrap her. So I'm like, is this a good time? And then I'll be working a lot of March at the rallies here. So I'm like, is that a great time to start a prep? Right now, assuming everything goes as it's supposed to, I'll be doing the women's pro-am in Cincinnati in wraps, which I'm excited about because I just did super total in sleeves.
That was going to be my question: is have you decided whether you're going to do the sleeves or are you going to wait till the last minute again and make
I will.
that
I feel like I love wraps. I will always want to squat in wraps if I can. And I know it's weird because it goes in like those phases where like a lot of people are in wraps and then like they die out for a couple years and then they come back, or at least that's what I noticed. So that one I think I did sign up for wraps, but man, I was shocked that in Super Total went as well as it did in sleeves, because I just no thank you. That's all.
So what
is my spring out of the bottom? I don't like this at all.
So what are your totals? What are your better totals as far as, well, I guess each lift and then your combined totals?
So in the super total or in my last meet?
Just like whatever your best meets have been.
So I haven't done a sleeved meet since 2018.
Okay.
So, and I think actually, yeah, 2018. And I think I hit 325, which is actually recorded wrong on Open Powerlifting. I hit 325. That was like my best sleeve squat. And then I switched to wraps in 2019, January 2019. And I've not competed without wraps since then. But my last meet, I did 435, 231, 451 for 1117. I was a little bit over my 140. Usually I compete at 148. But I weighed in that day at 154. And I was like, I think we got, I don't remember about where I was the night before, but I was like, there's no way I'm cutting this much weight. I'm just walking and feeling okay. I was like, Ryan, I'm just walking in and weighing what I weigh. And he was like, and my dots was still over 5, and that's really all I was worried about. So, because we sat and did the math, like, okay, if I weigh in at 148 versus if I weigh 54, it was a difference of like 2 dots points. I was like, I'm not worried about this crap. I just want to see it.
Right. Well, and the chances if you try and cut a lot that last day, you're not. I mean, the chance of your numbers being the same. I mean, so you'd sacrifice your numbers for the weight.
Exactly. Yeah. I guarantee you it would have been my bench. I was like, this is just not, and I already had an IV appointment like set up for after weigh-in anyway, because it just happened to be in Port Charlotte. And I was like, I'll just go in super hydrated, super not depleted, feel great, and perform well, because I'm not in the sport to weigh a certain thing. I'm in the sport to be as strong as I possibly can on the day that it matters. I don't care about this last few pounds. I don't care.
Right.
So I'm not sure if I will. Ideally, I can control my whole, like I've done a lot better of just tracking food and being more on top of it. So I'm not so high, but I think I was like around 159.
And you're normally 140.
148. Yeah. Well, usually I sit in like the low 150s. So it was just really off that prep. But, and then the one before that, I think I hit 1030. I think I hit 1035 in my meet before that. So, and that I had to pull conventional. So I was really, really happy because that was my goal. I had a lot of hip issues from sumo and some other stuff. So we made it through squat. It tore my quad. And I was like, I'm not leaving this meet without a small total PR. However, we have to get there. Let's get there. And then because we had such a rough prep. So I did, luckily I was pulling conventional all my prep, the whole prep anyway. So that helped a little bit. And I just kind of stiff-legged it.
So Julia, what was your meet total?
An even 700.
Hell yeah, brother. Is that your first one?
That was her first one. She started back in the gym last June and decided in July she wanted to do the meet in November.
Nothing like some urgency.
Exactly.
So I put her on her program, and I mean she made great strides in a short amount of time.
That's awesome. Yeah, as long as you're lifting to a comp standard, the total will hold.
Yes.
On that part.
All right. So as we get close to the end, we do white lights, red lights, which makes sense to you.
Makes sense to me.
Should make sense to you, right?
I think
white lights yeah.
I think I get the gist here.
Okay. All right. So I do it a few different ways. So basically the number one thing gets 3 whites, and then we can go down the list. So this, I was kind of not messing around. I couldn't get music out of my head, which is usually the case. Mm-hmm. So the way I want to do it today is your 3 white light music for lifting, your 2 white light, so like your secondary style type of music, and then the absolute worst thing, so 3 red light of what you just cannot stand to have playing while you lift.
Okay. My 3 white lights are definitely probably some kind of like rap, shockingly. Just because I kind of like to bop around a little bit, but I find myself drawn a little bit more to rap. And then as a secondary, I would go like any type of grunge or metal. So like a 90s alt, like grunge, or a little bit of metal. I'm not like a super metal head, but I will go.
Not like hard growling type metal, but
like, I mean, I do like it, but I tend not to like just be moved by it a ton when I'm training. So, but my playlists are so out of control. They don't make any sense. But the worst, I would say 3 reds. Am I giving 3 reds to? I can't even say country because I would listen to that sometimes. Like, I feel like that's where everyone's brain goes. But I do listen to that.
That's where my brain goes.
R&B. I'm gonna go with like R&B.
That would be a tough one for working out.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work. I'm gonna go with R&B for 3 reds. That's a no.
Okay. So in your rap playlist, what's the top either artist or song that you have on that playlist?
I got a lot of Nicki Minaj. I got a lot of Kid Cudi.
That's not bad. I'll accept Kid Cudi.
A lot of Cheesy. I got a lot of Cheesy on there. Okay. Yeah. So it's not horrible. I don't have terrible like taste in rap music. A lot of Lil Wayne. Someone's gonna say that that's terrible. Everyone's
he's not right. It's music. It's all subjective.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's fun to do this, because we find out where everyone's kind of flows to. All right, Julia.
Well, my number 1, of course, is going to be hip hop rap.
Okay.
Anyone that knows me knows that would be the case. Number 2 would be, hard rock metal. Worst music. I hate when I come in the gym, and usually it's teenage boys or like early 20-year-old boys that are playing the popular pop songs or like whatever's trending on TikTok. That's what they're playing on the gym radio. I don't want to work out to that. I just don't. It bothers me. It's not like motivational at all. It doesn't get me going. Also, like, they're just trying to fit in. I don't know.
So who's your hip hop rap artist selection
Well,
or your
I
tops?
mean, of course, it's Merce. Absolutely. It's always going to be Merce.
So Merce is from a group called Living Legends out of Los Angeles.
Yep.
It's very, very independent.
Okay.
So a lot of her hip hop tastes, like, because it would come to me, and my number one is going to be hip hop as well. I grew up in Southern California for the first 20 years of my life, and so like underground, backpack, independent hip hop is kind of like how I grew up. So she knows a lot of these people, and some of them she actually knows them.
Merce and I are actually talking right now.
Right. So so I've been able to introduce her to like the actual people as well as that goes. So yeah, so I know Merce. Let me guess, Lyrics Born is another one.
Yes, absolutely.
He's out of San Francisco area.
And honestly, playing just some Cut Chemist while I'm doing a lift, just the beats, that sometimes is exactly what I need to get through a lift.
So I would say, Lindsay, that these are ones you should also look at adding into your playlist as well.
Lyrics Born.
Lyrics Born is a
heard of Lyrics Born, but definitely not the first one. Merce.
Lyrics Born is a really good one for the sheer fact he uses a lot of funk.
Yes.
In his music, so it's all very up tempo and pretty bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you that kind of up tempo ride throughout.
That might request, but I feel like I've heard of that before. But the other one I definitely haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot have enough to where he makes a living doing it, but not enough to where he can stop making a living doing it in his mid 40s. So so mine also, I start with hip hop in my 3 white lights. At this point, I've been listening to a lot of jungle / drum and bass. So anyone who's not like EDM, but I don't listen to just any. It has to be the drum and bass that gets me going.
Yeah, I do a lot of EDM. That might be on my 3 red lights, actually. EDM. Like with no lyric. I don't like music design lyrics.
Most of what I listen to is they would call raga bass, so it has like it like remixes the reggae over the up tempo beats. And then it's
very weird. You have to like it to like it.
Right. I mean, I went to a lot of raves in the 90s, so it just kind of recalls me back to my younger days.
Okay, he's having a flashback. He's getting ready to deadlift, but he has like this flashback.
Yeah, everything starts going kind of blurry. Lights are flashing.
What happened?
I keep glow sticks in my workout bag just for special occasions. And then I go with the easy country. I just have never liked it. Just never been a fan.
Oh, you don't like any country ever?
He hates country.
There's like country adjacent I can listen to. So where
like
it's
country. Do you like Zach Bryan?
I don't think I've listened to anything that's newer. Like, so some of the older stuff, who would I even say that is kind of adjacent to it? Like I went with Julia's mom. We saw Lyle Lovett, and that was a decent concert, and it was enjoyable. And then some of like the Outlaw stuff is not so bad. Not that I will pick it myself, but if it's on, it won't make me cringe.
Okay.
I feel like Everlast could be country adjacent sometimes.
Sometimes he can be.
Yes.
So, Everlast.
If I'm not in the gym, I'm listening to country music.
So your main music is country, is your music of choice overall. Yeah. Okay.
But not with training. It just doesn't always work with training. I mean, I can listen to it, but it doesn't usually work. But I listen to country most of the time, and then I'll flip to. That's why Spotify just never knows what to give me. They're just like, "What do you get? We don't know."
Yeah, I would suggest Spotify now has like an AI DJ. I just found out.
You know what? I don't like when they talk though. I'm like,
No.
shut up and play my music.
Well, and I found like their mix that their little DJ does is nothing like what you're. It's like if you go search, what is you can search something on repeat, and it gives you like yours. Or if you go to an artist and you go to their radio station, it gives you the Spotify algorithm. The AI DJ is nothing, not even close to that. Like I'm like, where did you come up?
Yeah,
What made you think this song
Yeah,
had to do with this? Yes.
He's not for me. I don't like him. I was like, you don't even know me, my guy. Like, get out of here, pal. You're fired.
Yeah. He's like, now we're gonna be doing this and listen, we're gonna chill out with this type of vibe. And I'm like,
oh, we are, buddy.
Ugh.
I get so mad at that thing, and I hate how it like constantly is just like it's too long. Like you could tell me the name of the song and that's it, and that's fine. But like otherwise, I need you to shut up.
Right. I'm here to
Just
listen
play
to
the song.
music.
It's like an ad that I'm asking for. What is going on? I don't
Right.
no talkie.
So I will add my group that I go to now for hip hop is Coast Contra, which is very worth looking into as far as like, especially for gym. They're younger guys, which is not usually high on my list, but they're very good.
Coast Contra.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out. Look at it.
For-
I'll look into it.
4 guys, they use, I don't know, it's just their style, everything works out really well. All right, and one thing I forgot to ask you in the beginning was to kind of plug and promote everything that is you, where people can go find you, places to visit that you promote, and everything else.
Oh, you can find me at Lindsay Loves to Lift on Instagram and TikTok, even though I don't use TikTok that much. Sometimes I like get on a kick and I'll do it for like a week, and then everyone's mean, so I'm like, bye.
They're so mean.
I just post and close. I'm like, I post it and then I never look at that again, and I never read the comments. But you know what's worse than TikTok is Facebook, because Meta made you make a business page or Instagram when they all merged and stuff. So it just automatically posts from Instagram. Listen, if you ever want to feel bad about yourself, just go to Facebook Reels, because it's like you know how Gen Z is on TikTok. Well, the boomers are like that on Facebook, but they're much meaner. Okay, way worse. And then you can also go to Stout Heart Supply, which is on Instagram at Stout Heart Supply. You can go to, well, the other one's private because that's like team chat. So, and that's it.
I in the description, your link tree is posted, which should have a direction to all those different places. So make sure you go check out Lindsay, go check out her Instagram page. Don't say anything mean, because that's just
I get it.
uncomfortable. Wait, one thing I do have to ask, just because it's always entertaining. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever, besides me asking you to be on this podcast, what is the weirdest request or weirdest comment you've had made?
The weirdest request, like a DM request, was one time a guy asked me if he could give me money for a picture of the back of my hand. And I was like, because I don't even understand what this could be for. I'm even more terrified than someone just asking for like feet.
Right.
No, that's weird.
Like I'm even more weirded out, because what are you doing with that?
Right. That is a weird one.
That's weird.
What kink is this? So I was like, but you know I'm barefoot all the time anyway. So feet people have a blast on my page, and they're just so non-sexual to me that I can't fathom. Like I'm like, I don't care. I'm lifting like this. I don't care. Have a blast. There's my dirty.
That is a really weird one. I don't know if you know, is it Gabby Burkholzer? She's a strongman. She does strongman
It
competitions.
sounds familiar. Yeah.
She said she had a guy that told her or asked her or said that he would pay her money for her to take a video of her taking off her socks after a gym and send him to him.
No.
I don't get it.
Right.
So gross.
I had one the other day. I don't remember if it was socks or it might have been. I took a screenshot of it. I'll have to look. But they just for your socks, and I'm like, listen, my socks are so much cleaner than my actual feet because I just take them off as soon as I get here. Socks are good. My feet are filthy. That's why I don't understand.
I have to ask just because I know guys say the dumbest and weirdest things to women online.
Yeah, it's always on like a burner account DM too. It cracks me up. I'm like, you guys are, because you always just wonder like who is this? Who has time for this?
Yeah.
Too many people.
Hey,
That's the answer to that question.
Shoot your shot, I guess. What do you have to lose? You know?
Right. Yeah, we're like they're just hoping for the best. If they send out 100, that one person will be like, "Yeah, okay, cool, here it is."
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, Lindsay, thank you for coming on. We do appreciate it.
Yes,
had a lot of
thank
fun. So anyone who listens, make sure you go again, check her out. Lindsay Loves to Lift on Instagram. The link tree is posted in the description and is also on her Instagram page. Make sure you follow us at Lifting Ugly, YouTube page, Instagram, or anywhere else that you want to follow us. This will be posted. It will be, Spotify, Apple Music, all those places. So make sure you go and like, follow, and comment on all those things. Lindsay, thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Nice
all
to
right.
meet you.
Night,
Nice
you
to meet
too.
you.
And we're out of here.